Good morning, Mr. Anderson.
Morning, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Can I take a seat?
Yeah, go ahead and sit down.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get right to it. So why did you apply for this position as an equine breeding supplies sales rep?
Absolutely. So ever since I was in elementary school, I had a love for the science world, but I also really loved animals. And so as I kind of grew through my schooling and saw more about different species of animals, I really developed a passion and a love for horses and the equine industry. And so I knew I wanted to work in that field someday, but I didn't really know what that looked like practically necessarily. I didn't know careers that would really implement that. I didn't want to be a veterinarian, so kind of finding something where I could fit in the industry of horses, but also kind of combine my love for people. That's really been developed over my collegiate years as well. I used to be very introverted in high school, so over college I really kind of grew to value communication and working with others. So when I kind of heard about this position and saw you posting for it, I really was excited because it was a good blend between working with people where you get to go to different horse farms and breeding farms and really meet with owners of these places and owners of the horses, but you also get to demo the products on the horses. So it's a good blend between working with the animals themselves, but also working with others. So that's what really gets me excited about this position.
Excellent. Can you tell me about a time where you persuaded someone to do something?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually a few months ago when I was at Cal Poly, I was the breeding manager there, and so I had the opportunity to call a ranch down in southeast Texas. There was a very nice stallion there, and I got to call and talk to his owner, and he kind of informed me on that interview, on that call, that the cost to breed was around $5,000, and for me we couldn't do that. Like Cal Poly doesn't have that kind of funding. It was a big problem because we wanted to breed to that stallion, but $5,000 is a lot of money for a university that doesn't get a lot of funding. So I knew I had to take action in that, and I knew I had to ask him for a donation to Cal Poly in that sense. So after kind of talking with him about Cal Poly and the impact that education's had on me and what's gotten me today, he actually agreed to give that donation, which was awesome. And so we were able to breed one of our mares to his stallion, and the end result worked really well. He was able to donate that breeding to the program.
Could you also think of a time where you used probing questions to get someone to open up and have a good conversation with you?
Yeah, definitely. So my sophomore year of college, I made the decision to become a WOW leader, which is like the orientation leader for the university. So as a leader, I'm assigned 12 new students to the school, and we're with them the whole week, taking them to different workshops, seminars, and just showing them around San Luis Obispo and really seeing what the community has. But really during that time, it can be stressful for those students because this is their first time away from home. They're nervous. They don't know what college is going to be like. So for those students that are already extroverted, it's an easier time, but it can be a little more difficult for introverted students.
Yeah.
One of my students, Luke, he was very introverted. He really didn't open up anything more than his name, his major, and where he's from, and so that was difficult to kind of get him to open up. So during free time, actually, I was able to pull him aside and individually kind of ask him some questions about his story, and it was really a cool time to learn about his story because we wouldn't have learned that otherwise in the group. He really opened up about high school and the struggles he had there, and then the fears and the worries that he had coming to college. So it was a cool time for me to be able to share some wisdom with him. But again, it was really a time that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't individually pulled him aside and given him some questions just for him to be able to answer and talk about himself. So definitely.
Sweet. Thank you for sharing that. How do you organize and prioritize your work activities for the day, week, and the month?
Yeah, definitely. So I like to use an actual paper planner, and so I can write down everything that has going on in that week or that month, and I like to color coordinate that as well. So my work activities have one type of color, my school items have another, and then fun activities get a different color, and it really allows me to be able to kind of find a balance in between all those things. Just a well-balanced day and week and month is important. So balancing that with the colors helps to really demonstrate that. I would say prioritizing things has been something I've definitely had to grow in college. Saying no to good things is really hard for me. I love taking on a lot, but I've seen the negative effects of that as well, so I've really learned to prioritize those things that are really important. And the day-to-day I've gotten much better at that, really seeing what's the most important, accomplishing that first, and then moving on with whatever time I have left to either more fun things or things that aren't quite as important. So that's really something I'm still developing and evolving in, but have really grown to appreciate.
Awesome. When were you most satisfied with what you were doing?
I would say I was most satisfied when I was teaching a reproduction class regarding horses last quarter. It was really a cool time for me to share my wisdom and knowledge about the horse industry and how reproduction works in horses with students that are younger than me. It was really a cool way for me to demonstrate my skills and really show them techniques, hands-on techniques, but also lecture material as well. Really finding that balance, seeing them excited about what they were learning was really fulfilling for me as well. So that was really a cool time for me to be satisfied in just in that teaching environment and sharing my knowledge with other students.
Awesome. And how about a time when you were least satisfied with what you were doing?
Yeah, definitely. A few quarters ago, I was in a class that spent most of the time in the laboratory, and I really did learn a lot of valuable skills about the laboratory in that. It was a cool learning experience, but for me, I had to work alone a lot of the time. I was inside most of the time, and that was difficult for me because I do thrive on working outside a little from time to time, but also working with other people. So that was really a challenging time for me because while some of the work I was doing was cool, it wasn't for me very fulfilling to be inside and working alone a lot of the time. So
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Shandley, for your time. We'll be getting back to you in the next couple of weeks with a potential follow-up interview. So have a great afternoon.
yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem. I thought that one was much better.